I'm just like trapped between being a modern woman on one side and a traditional woman on the other. Hey tchotchkes, welcome back to another episode of the Chachabeat. It has come to my attention that perhaps I am needing to brush up on the history of feminism. I feel like feminism and girl power were like ingrained into me. Maybe because of that, I didn't have to like actually learn about it. So today we're going to learn about it. Before we start, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you never miss a beat. Okay, let's get into it because that's what you're here for.
That drives their every decision, but for others, it has the absolute opposite impact. Any mention invoking deep disdain. The initial women's rights movement was about just that, securing basic rights for women, and it was successful in this endeavor. But since then, feminism has transformed so dramatically that it would be absolutely unrecognizable to the original pioneers. And despite facing intense opposition, feminism keeps pushing on in its eternal search for gender equality. But the radical feminist vision for a fair society is much darker than you could ever imagine, and we're much closer to it than you think. In the beginning, there was the first wave of feminism in the US, with figures like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton who argued for women to have the basic rights to vote and own property. In the 1980s, women had neither such right, didn't have many employment opportunities, and if they did work, they were required to hand over their money to their husbands. In 1920, one of these injustices was corrected when the 19th Amendment to the...
Okay, I think that was a mistake. She said in the 1980s. I think she meant in the 1880s. Already, I'm like, oh my God, can we even like trust this video? Like, what are we watching? Like, you thought I was bad at knowing what date it was. This chick doesn't seem to be much better. Maybe it is a girl math thing.
Into the US Constitution was ratified, giving women the vote. The second wave of feminism started in the 1960s, coinciding with the advent of the birth control pill, which is arguably one of, if not the most significant event in human history. Why? Well, it changed one of the most basic realities of our biological existence, the consequence of sex. For millennia, sex meant there would be a possibility of pregnancy. But now, for the first time, women could suspend their fertility. This meant that women who were, till now, the great gatekeepers of sex due to the risk of pregnancy, could now theoretically have sex like men, at least according to second-wave feminists who were focused on ending cultural inequalities concerning reproductive rights and workplace discrimination and heavily pushed for sexual liberation. And they had many successes. The birth control pill was approved in the 1960s, abortion was legalized across the US in 1973, and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was passed in 1974, which prohibited discrimination on the basis of sex or marital status in the extension of credit. This made property ownership and financial independence much easier for women.
So the first wave of feminism, easy peasy, 18. The 1890s were fighting for our right to vote. Women wanted to vote. You know, that's totally legitimate. The suffrage, I don't think we heard the word suffrage.
I mean, come on, what is this, 1922?
What's 1922?
Just, a long time ago. When men used to tell women what to do, a lot. And then there was suffrage, which was a good thing, but it sounds horrible.
I believe it was the suffrage movement, and the women, they wanted to vote. In 1920, we got the right to vote, the 19th Amendment. We sail on, and then in the 1960s, the second wave of feminism comes in, and this is where things start to get a little wild. So the birth control pill in the 1960s, and then in the 1970s, we have abortion. I think for this conversation, we're going to put abortion on the shelf. We're just going to pin it right there. We were warned that this is going to get dark, so maybe we have to deal with abortion later. But for right now, in this conversation, the birth control pill. Yes, that was the sexual revolution. The birth control pill made it so women could have sex without the overwhelming fear of getting pregnant. I say overwhelming fear of getting pregnant, or maybe they were just able to dismiss the whole thing. But the birth control pill definitely did not just, like, you're still a woman there, and with the birth control pill, you have to take it, at least, in the olden days when it first came out. The way it was designed was you had to take it at the same time every day in order for it to be consistently in your body and thus be a reliable form of birth control. If you missed a day, or if you took it at different hours every day, you are not birth controlled. And if you connect some dots there, you can see how it would lead to this abortion shelf that we are pushing away right now. But the other thing that's interesting about the birth control pill is that not only is it a form of, contraceptive, so women can have sex without the fear of getting pregnant, conceivably, no pun intended. The birth control changes you. It changes the hormonal makeup in your body. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you smell. It changes the kind of man that you're attracted to. There are wild reports of women who were on the birth control pill, for 10 years, and then they stop for whatever reason. Maybe they actually want to get pregnant. Stop taking it, and they're like a whole new person, and they're like, what is going on here? What was up is now down, and like, what is reality?
Birth control, because I'd love to meet me, I've heard that when you get off birth control, you're just like, has anyone in here gotten off of birth control? You have right here? Oh, a lot of us. Okay. All right. How did that go for you?
I broke up with my boyfriend.
You broke up with your boyfriend of 6 years. These are the stories I'm talking about. This is what I've heard about. You stop doing birth control, and you don't.
Your sense of smell changes.
Your sense of smell changes. Oh my God. So wait, what did your ex-boyfriend smell like before when you were on birth control, and what did he smell like once you got off birth control? You're like, when I was on birth control, he smelled like my future, and when I got off, he smelled like the past.
I've loved him for 6 years, and now I can't stand the smell of him. That's because of birth control. So not only did it open the doors for promiscuity, but it also changed like the mental makeup, the actual thoughts and feelings and actions that these women are taking are now being manipulated in a way through birth control, or with birth control. I don't want to say through birth control, because that makes it sound as if someone's like, pulling the strings. I don't think it's like that. It's not like you're not being controlled, you're just being affected, and it's like being drunk and you don't even know that you're drunk. And then one day you get sober and you're like, whoa, I had no idea that this is what it actually feels like to be inside my body. I haven't been on birth control in, I don't know, 15 years. I was on it as a teenager, for my skin, I guess. I definitely wasn't having sex as a teenager. That's another story. But I guess because I had bad skin, I don't remember. But my mother actually worked at Planned Parenthood. I don't think I've mentioned this, but growing up, my mother worked at Planned Parenthood for 25 years as I was growing up. She quit when I was in my freshman year of college. So all growing up, my mom worked at Planned Parenthood. She used to take us, me and my older sister, to work with her on Take Your Daughter to Work Day. It was awesome. So anyway, my mom loved birth control. And so I was on birth control. And then when I went to college, still not having sex in college, I went to college and never remembered to take it. Back then, you didn't have a cell phone in your pocket that like was a walking alarm clock, and it would go off at the same time every single day. We didn't have that, and I would never remember to take it. And it was just like, I'm not having sex anyway, and my skin isn't so bad, so I'm just not going to take these. And then when I moved to New York City after college, now in my 20s and having a little bit of sex, but it was 2000, it was 2007, 2008 in New York City. The post Sex in the City vibe was happening, and I was a city girl, and despite the fact that I was having not a lot of sex, I was having some sex, and for thus one should be on the birth control pill. So I went back on the birth control pill. And first of all, I remember like the first 2 weeks I was on it, I went fucking manic. Like I was crazy. I was so mad and yelling at everyone. I got in fights with anyone. I would just pick fights with everyone. I couldn't think straight. I remember having horrible brain fog and knew that it was just because I was like onboarding onto the birth control pills. Like I knew that like it would just take a couple weeks and I would level out, and this made sense to me. So I go through the manic, come out okay, and I'm taking these pills for it's probably like a year that I was taking them, and I noticed that I have a lot of hair, and I noticed that I seemed to be like I had less hair. Like it was thinner and like it was falling out, and it was just weird because I have a lot. Like I've always had very fortified hair, and so I went to the doctor and I told her, I think my hair is falling out. And they did some blood work and tested my hormone levels, and she came back and said, oh, it turns out that there's like a 1% side effect rate on the birth control pills, where if you happen to have a certain level of hormone imbalance naturally, when you add the birth control pill, it will make your hair fall out. No one thought to test my hormone levels before I went on the birth control pill to make sure that when I started taking it, my hair wasn't going to fall out. It was really traumatic. It was really traumatic. It took a couple years for my hair to start growing back at like a thick, lush pace. For a while, I was terrified that, I'd ruined my hair forever, for life, because I was only 25, 26 at the time and knew nothing of how long life is. And so, now a woman in my 40s, I know that if something takes a year or two, like it will get better, even if it takes a year or two or three. That's just like a little blip in like the whole deal of it. The birth control pill has now evolved into all different kinds of contraceptive, from I don't even know what they're called, but like the diaphragm is one. I'm so bad at this. The diaphragm, the one, the IUD, is that the one that they like put in you? I don't know. None of it sounds appealing to me. And then add on top of the fact that like it messes with your brain. It confuses how you think, how you smell. The whole thing's just weird. Anyway, that's long story short, that is my experience with the birth control pill. I graduated high school in 2003. So in the early 2000s, I went on birth control. So that was, now check my math here, if the birth control pill came out in the 60s, that's about 50 years after the birth control pill came into mainstream, I was funneled into that feminism mindset as if it was just the assumed thing that you did. It was no longer risque or counterculture. It was the culture.
This wave also brought with it the biggest shifts in the cultural behavior for women. Sexual liberation became a reality. During the second wave, many obscenity laws were challenged and the adult industry quickly established itself. While Playboy had already been around since 1953, the first Hustlers magazine was published in 1974, followed by Jugs in 1981. The third wave of feminism, which began in the 1990s, was focused on diverse perspectives, individual empowerment, and the oh-so-dreaded concept, intersectionality. It was during this wave that Judith Butler published the book Gender Trouble, asserting that gender was a social construct. The self-esteem movement, or the idea of follow your bliss, became more prevalent in this time, and the embracing of intersectionality meant there was a new lens in which to examine the oppression and privilege a person experienced based on their sex, sexuality, race, religion, and economic status. Meaning, a Black queer woman would be considered far more oppressed than a
I can't with this. This is what I'm talking about when I say that, like, feminism has gone stupid. Tchotchkes, do you believe that we are only 2 minutes and 51 seconds into this video about feminism and we're already talking about intersexuality and no, intersectionality, not intersexuality, sorry. Intersectionality of Black queer women versus, I don't know, woman. Like, this is stupid. Intersectionality is stupid. It pits women against one another. It pits people against one another. We are all equal, especially in the United States. Men and women do have equal rights. That does not mean that men and women are the same. It means that we are equal.
Oh, I know. We can drive, we can vote, we can work. What more do these broads want?
Okay, we're gonna go rogue on this video because I can't listen to intersectionality. Come for me in the comments about how important intersectionality is, but I really just don't give a shit about it. I think it's stupid and it's destroying the fabric of society. So we've got the 3 waves of feminism that she has discussed so far in this extremely cursory overview to bring us up to modern times. Where we stand now, men and women are equal. Men and women have equal rights protected under the law. No one's coming for our rights. I mean, abortion being a federal law, that's not a thing anymore. However, you can still decide where you live depending on the state that you live in. Abortion is legal. It is not going back to the 1900s when women, had to use the coat hangers or whatever it was. Abortion is legal. If you need to have an abortion, it is legal for you to do so if you go to the state. And sure, that's not ideal for some women. Some women, they need to have their abortion readily available for them in whatever state they're like. It needs to be a federal thing because they need the federal protection of being able to have an abortion. And so they can say that, men and women are not equal because we don't have this total control and right over our body no matter where we are. I mean, men have to sign up for the draft, and war is a thing in 2025. I hope it doesn't become more of a thing. However, they have the power to switch on the draft at any time. And men, when you register to vote, you have to register for the draft, and you could be called up in 2026. There's no reason why they can't say, oh, we have a draft now, we're going to war with, I don't know, the bad guys. In my mind, it kind of equals out. No one has total control over their body. No one has total autonomy. And I mean, that's just the way it is. So that equals out. And other than that, men and women are equal. Women can do anything that men can do in this world. Not in this world, in America. Women can do anything that men can do in America. Whether or not women want to do that is another story. One thing about feminists is they are so concerned about that C-suite. We need more women entrepreneurs and we need more women who are CEOs of XYZ. No one's saying we need more women who are plumbers and we need more women electricians. No one's saying that, but wouldn't that be like, that's the same thing of like, if we want the workforce to be equal, don't we need more women in these jobs as well? But women don't want to do those jobs. And, one could argue that women shouldn't do those jobs because they are physically weaker than men are. And thus men can do more in a construction day than women can. On average, I would argue. And if we're looking to be efficient in getting this job done as quickly as possible, one could argue that it is more efficacious to hire men for the job than women. But my point is that they are equal. Men and women are equal. Men and women are different, but men and women are equal. I'll find another video and we can talk more about the history of feminism. But just now that we've made it all personal, from a personal point of view, as a 40-year-old woman in America who, as I said, my mom worked for Planned Parenthood when I was growing up. I was raised on feminism, girl power, and Planned Parenthood were my upbringing. And now, as a 40-year-old woman who is in we're not married because we're too disorganized, and Justin, he is a very busy guy, and we'll figure it out. We'll go to the courthouse eventually, but we're as good as married. We're madly in love and committed and happy and have lived together for like 7 years now. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary, just being together, knowing each other this summer. So I'm in a happy, committed relationship. My life partner, I don't want to have children. It's another story, but I've never felt the desire to be a mother. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that my mom worked for Planned Parenthood. I don't know. I have an older sister and she has 2 kids and she's a great mom. So I don't know, but I'm not going to have kids. But I also have zero interest in like being the girl boss climbing the corporate ladder. Like I've never cared about my job. I've always and I've had some pretty good like corporate jobs. I've never felt like, inspired or like motivate, I don't know, interested. I've never been interested in actually like playing the game to go up that corporate ladder. Like I didn't want to be the manager or boss of anyone because that just means you have to do more work. I hated filling out those like what are your goals and all of those kinds of things, like your review, your annual review. I was always so bad at those things because I just didn't care. Tell me what you want me to for my goal and I'll try and make that happen for you. But like I really don't have any goals here. My goal is to like show up when I have to and leave when I'm done and get paid for it. So like I was never like this hustler, and now I'm like at this point in my life where I am feeling all of these influences that I've had of, being more traditional and a wife and a mother and being the girl boss and feminism, and I'm like caught in the middle of it. I recently was laid off from a very good corporate job. I'm not going to say like the name of the company that I worked for, but it was a pretty cushy job. I worked there for 3 years, and it was pretty cushy the whole time. And I recently got laid off and made the decision that I'm not doing this again. I'm done with the corporate. And full transparency, the reason why I could make that decision is because I've got a man that takes care of me. See, this is where like the confusion comes from, because like what kind of feminist who like was raised on girl power and feminism, how am I now like just totally loving being damsel in distress, like take care of me, provide, protect. Oh, so sexy. I love it. And he likes it too. When I made the decision to not go back to my 6-figure corporate job, Justin and I talked about it. And, I was like, I don't want you to feel like pressure, like I'm relying on you. And like his face just like lit up. He's like, no, I like doing it. I like that I can take care of us. So, it's a win-win situation, because like I don't have to work at a soul-sucking job, and Justin loves to like feel like the man, because he is the man. So on one hand, I'm like super traditional, like Justin is the breadwinner, the provider, and I stay home. I'm getting more. I started baking this year, so I've made a couple cookies. I made some brownies. I'm getting a little bit more domestic. I do his laundry. So I'm not like Holly homemaker, but I am a little bit more traditional on that side. But then on the other side, like kids are not my thing. I do not want to have a baby. I definitely don't want to be pregnant. This is the reason why I think Planned Parenthood might have something to do with it, because the idea, the concept, the feeling of being pregnant like actually really freaks me out, like inside my body. And so that's not very traditional woman of me. And so like I'm just like trapped between being a modern woman on one side and a traditional woman on the other. And I can see how, women on both sides are getting upset. The traditional women are shaming the modern women, and the modern women are disappointed in the traditional women. And the whole thing is just a mess. So I think that the best thing we can do is talk about it. I'm trying to share a little bit more about my perspective. I'm also trying to, learn and educate myself a little bit more. I realize that my history, my dates are no good. My quick math, that's not a thing. We're just talking here. That's what the beat is all about. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you never miss a beat. Until next time, keep calm and cha-cha on.